You won a trip to the Caribbean in a sweepstakes. Well, if that's the case, Mommy and I are going. You're staying behind. Got it. If not, we're getting divorced, Andrew declared, his threat of divorce hanging in the air like a heavy cloud. His mother, standing beside him, wore a smirk of triumph, relishing the moment. I couldn't let this blatant manipulation slide. No, I would concoct my own special revenge against this conniving mother-son duo. My name is Lilian, aged 32, just your average working mother at some nondescript company. Andrew and I had been married for 2 years. I had stumbled upon him, 2 years my senior, through a mutual acquaintance. Romance was never my forte. I hadn't dated much during college and my post-graduation relationships hadn't panned out. Before I knew it, I was 30, and my concerned parents had begun seeking potential matches for me. Andrew appeared on the scene, a composed and caring individual with a strong devotion to his parents, a trait that resonated with my own values. Thinking perhaps I could forge a connection with him, I agreed to marry him. Our wedding was a smooth affair, celebrated by many, and initially, our union seemed to be pure bliss. About 6 months into our marriage, my phone began to ring incessantly, each call bearing Andrew's name. With a sense of urgency, I returned his call, only to be met with his strained voice on the other end. "Please try to stay calm," he began, his words heavy with distress. "It's about Dad. Something's happened to Alfred. He collapsed at home and has been rushed to the hospital." And then, it hit me like a wave. The sudden news of my father-in-law's passing was unfathomable. He had always been the epitome of health. The shock was palpable, not just for me, but for everyone involved. Following Alfred's passing, Andrew's attention shifted drastically towards his now solitary mother. He became excessively attentive, visiting her daily, sharing meals or accompanying her on shopping trips. He even took special leave to embark on a trip with her. It wasn't that he neglected me, but whenever our plans clashed, his priority was always her. "Sorry, Lilian, Mom just called and she needs me," he would say apologetically. "But we had plans," I'd protest, feeling the sting of disappointment. "She's feeling alone," he'd reason. "You don't mind, do you? You can go to the movies alone, can't you?" "I'm fine," I'd reply, though inwardly resentment brewed. Why was I the one being held accountable? Wasn't Matilda the one making demands? Regardless of Andrew's apparent devotion to his lonely mother-in-law, it's evident that he's a mama's boy. Yet aside from this recurrent issue with his mom, our marriage was tolerable. I presume this was simply the norm for married life. My personal refuge. Solving crossword puzzles with enticing prizes. They provided solace whenever Andrew abandoned me for Matilda, and occasionally, I'd score gift cards or delectable treats. Then came the day I clinched a pair of tickets to the Caribbean, the grandest prize I'd ever won. I meticulously verified my victory multiple times, consumed by exhilaration. The tickets necessitated specifying the travel companions before contacting the airline. Contemplating who to bring, Andrew naturally came to mind, but hesitations lingered. He often jetted off with Matilda, and if I proposed a trip together, she might insist on tagging along. After careful deliberation, I resolved to gift the trip to my parents. As I made my way home, I swung by my parents' place to share the thrilling news. "Mom, guess what? I've won tickets to the Caribbean," I announced, brimming with excitement. "Oh goodness, that's wonderful news. You and Andrew must be thrilled," Mom responded, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. "Not quite," I replied with a grin. "I've decided to give them to you and Dad." "To us? Are you sure?" Mom exclaimed, clearly taken aback. "Absolutely. Andrew's always traveling, but I want you two to have this experience," I reassured her. "Thank you, Lilian. We're beyond grateful," Mom beamed, her excitement palpable. Dad, however, appeared deep in thought. "Dad seems troubled," I observed. "Well, work's been hectic lately. It's not the best time for me to be away," Dad explained with a furrowed brow. "That's unfortunate," I acknowledged. Then Dad suggested, "Why not take Olivia instead? After all, it was your prize originally, wasn't it? Enjoy some quality time together." Mom's face lit up at the idea. "That sounds lovely." Feeling elated and increasingly excited, I applied for leave the next day, which was promptly approved. I wasted no time contacting the airline to arrange for my parents to use the tickets. On my way home from work, I stopped by a bookstore and purchased a guidebook for the Caribbean trip. It had been far too long since Mom and I had gone on an adventure together, and I couldn't wait to make new memories. But upon arriving home, I was met with an unexpected sight. I'm home, I called out upon entering, expecting to find Andrew, but instead discovering the house illuminated by lights. Oddly, there were women's shoes at the entrance rather than Andrew's. Contemplating this, I was met with the sight of Matilda as she swung open the living room door. Lilian, do you have any idea what time it is? She scolded. Oh, Matilda, I didn't realize you were here, I responded, taken aback. It's not just about me being here. Coming home this late, what have you been up to? Andrew will be back any minute now, she continued, her tone accusatory. I'm sorry, I'll start dinner right away, I offered, hoping to diffuse the tension. It's not just about dinner, is it? Making the bed is basic common sense for a daughter-in-law. Do you even take your role seriously? Matilda questioned sharply. I apologize if things have fallen short because of my work. Perhaps you should consider being more dedicated to your home, I retorted, feeling the weight of her disapproval. With Matilda living nearby and holding a spare key, her unannounced visits were a regular occurrence. Embracing traditional beliefs about a daughter-in-law's duties, she clearly disapproved of my full-time job. Her constant nitpicking and criticism made it difficult for me to warm up to her. As I began preparing dinner, Matilda suddenly exclaimed, Hold on. What's this, Lilian? Are you planning a trip to the Caribbean? Surprised, she had unearthed the newly purchased guidebook from my bag. Matilda, why are you going through my things? I protested. That's beside the point. What's this about the Caribbean? She demanded, her tone sharp. I had won the trip in a sweepstakes, intending to gift it to Mom. I hadn't mentioned it to anyone yet. Our argument was abruptly halted by Andrew's arrival. Matilda rushed to him, pointing an accusatory finger in my direction. Andrew, listen to this. Lillian's been utterly thoughtless. What's going on, Mom? Did Lilian pull one of her stunts again? A Caribbean trip, planning to give it to Olivia without even consulting me. What Caribbean trip? This is news to me too, Andrew demanded, glaring at me. It's quite simple. I won the trip and thought of giving it to my parents. But since Dad can't go, you're going with Olivia, I explained calmly. Yeah, so what's the problem? You're always traveling with Matilda, Andrew retorted. It's not the same. Mom and I only go on domestic trips. We haven't been abroad in years. How could you decide this without even talking to me? It's my prize. Why should I have to? I protested, feeling my frustration rise. Andrew slammed his hand on the table, cutting me off. You're getting too bold for a daughter-in-law. Mommy and I are going. You'll stay home. Mommy, I couldn't hide the disdain in my voice at Andrew's juvenile choice of words. Wait a minute. This trip, you've had enough of it. If you're not happy, let's talk about divorce, Andrew declared sharply. What divorce? I was taken aback, unable to comprehend his extreme reaction. Threatening divorce over something so trivial seemed absurd. Fueled by anger, I fired back. I earned this trip fair and square. I've already made up my mind to gift it to my own mother. Can't you pick up on the signals for once? Mom wants to go. Where does it end with prioritizing Matilda? You never take my feelings into consideration. I don't care how you feel. Like I said, this trip is for Mommy and me. Stay home and behave. Andrew dismissed me coldly. My affection for Andrew waned rapidly in that moment. It was clear that in his eyes I ranked lower than Matilda. I couldn't continue to tolerate this absurd dynamic between the two of them. Keeping my composure, I told Andrew, Fine. Do as you please and enjoy your trip. Humph, you should have listened to reason from the beginning. Suit yourself. Always being argumentative, Andrew huffed in response. The Andrew I once knew, kind and understanding, seemed to have vanished, and there was Matilda, wearing a smug smirk of victory. It was then that I made up my mind to leave the house while they were away on their trip. I resolved to let Andrew and Matilda have this time together. The following day, I reached out to the airline to inform them of the change in travelers, substituting Andrew and my mother-in-law. However, the operator's response carried a note of concern. I'm sorry, but once the participants are confirmed, we're unable to modify them, they explained. Is that so? I inquired, a sinking feeling settling in. Yes. Additionally, this airline ticket stipulates that the original winner must be present. If your husband and mother-in-law are listed, the ticket will be rendered invalid, the operator clarified. So, if I don't go, the ticket serves no purpose, I confirmed. Correct. Please refer to the documents we provided, outlining this specific condition, they advised. Upon reviewing the documents, I discovered a clear statement. Only the winner was authorized to use the ticket, and it was non-transferable. Relaying this information to the operator, I made the decision to decline the trip without informing Andrew and Matilda. Instead, I resolved to let them make their own arrangements for travel at their own expense. That evening, upon my return from work, I broached the topic of the Caribbean trip with Andrew. Andrew, about the trip to the Caribbean. Yeah, you've contacted the airline, right? Informing them that Mommy and I will be going, he interrupted. I did make the call. Here are the winning documents and the tickets. I only need the tickets. I won't bother with the documents, I explained, handing them over. There are detailed instructions in those documents. Considering it's an international trip, it might be wise to give them a read, Andrew suggested cautiously. I don't see the need. Mommy and I know what we're doing. We're efficient, unlike you, he asserted confidently. Fine, whatever. I'll leave them here just in case. I relented, sensing it was futile to argue further. As I anticipated, Andrew neglected to read the documents, leading to a debacle on the day of the trip. After confirming his departure, I swiftly packed my bags and made my way to my parents' house. While unpacking as expected, I received a call from Andrew. As soon as I answered, he erupted, "What's going on? They're saying the ticket can't be used." That's correct. If the winner doesn't travel, the ticket becomes void, I explained calmly. Why didn't you tell me this earlier? Andrew demanded, his tone accusatory. I did tell you. Remember? It would have been wise to read the instructions. I reminded him. You mean it was in those documents you gave me? Andrew realized with frustration. Exactly. It's your responsibility for not reading them, I replied matter-of-factly. This is ridiculous. How are we supposed to get to the Caribbean? Andrew panicked. Well, the operator did mention that if the winner doesn't travel, you'd have to pay the full price, I informed him. The full price? Andrew exclaimed, clearly caught off guard. In the background, I could hear Matilda's voice, indicating they were both distressed. Andrew, what did Lilian say? Matilda's voice interjected. Mommy, if Lilian doesn't have to pay for the trip. Andrew began, but I didn't catch the rest of his sentence as he handed the phone to Matilda. They can sort it out themselves, I heard Andrew mutter before ending the call. After ending the call, it wasn't long before Andrew rang again. Hello, I answered. What's going on? I'm busy, Andrew snapped. It's not what's going on. I tried to purchase the tickets, but the credit card isn't working, he exclaimed in frustration. Huh? I don't know anything about your card, I responded, puzzled. It's not mine, it's your card, he clarified. Oh, so you're saying you used my card without my permission? I realized with a sinking feeling. Just fix it now, Andrew demanded impatiently. I recalled checking my wallet earlier that morning and discovering my card missing. Suspecting the worst, I immediately froze it. I knew you took it, I accused. Are you kidding me? I was planning to use that card for shopping abroad, Andrew retorted defensively. Always causing problems, you jerk, I seethed with anger. You freaking witch, Andrew fired back, showing no remorse for his actions or for taking the trip. It was yet another instance of him prioritizing himself above all else. I can't deal with this anymore, I declared, my frustration boiling over. A jerk? Who are you calling that? After constantly belittling others, you can just go to hell. Andrew shot back defensively. What? Who are you talking to like that? I countered sharply. Who do you think? Your constant reliance on Mommy is honestly creepy. If you love her so much, why don't you two just stick together? I can't handle being married to a mama's boy like you. There's no point in us being together. I lashed out, my words dripping with disdain. Hey, calm down. If you keep this up, we'll get a divorce, Andrew warned. Fine by me. I've been thinking the same thing, I retorted, my anger flaring. With that, I stormed out of the house with no intention of returning. Let them enjoy their time abroad in the Caribbean. Maybe they'll both sink, they and Mama's boy. In a fit of rage, I hung up and blocked both Andrew and his mother. Determined to end this toxic relationship, I sought legal advice from a firm recommended by my father and initiated the divorce process. Upon reviewing our savings for asset division, I made a startling discovery. Our joint account had been emptied. That was the shocking discovery I made upon reviewing our joint account. There were numerous withdrawals, all coinciding with Andrew's trips with his mother. It became evident that he had used our savings to fund their travels in addition to unauthorized charges on my credit card. Demanding compensation, I insisted on a significant sum. However, Andrew's financial situation quickly spiraled into debt, and he found himself hounded by creditors. The once indulged mother, now constrained by our actions, witnessed her relationship with Andrew sour, their interactions fraught with arguments. The irony wasn't lost on me, considering his past behavior. Meanwhile, I made the decision to reside with my parents for a period. Recognizing the concern I had caused, I was determined to repay their kindness by living with them and attending to their needs. Marriage held little appeal for me now. What truly mattered was the love and support of a caring family. Through the tumult of divorce, I found solace in this